Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Good evening, everyone. Are you a content creator who wants to learn how to tell a better story through your content, through editing? You want to know the shortcuts that's going to help you to shorten your editing process from 4 to 5 hours to doing it much quicker so that way you can enjoy the rest of your evening with family and post your content? Well, tonight we're going to get into the discussion on the importance of going back to school and learning how to do video editing with passion, with telling a story that your viewers can enjoy. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to The Huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong, where it's our goal to help working class content creators like yourself to grow your channel, get more views, and make money online. And as we said tonight, we wanted to have the discussion on how to be able to become a better video editor when you're editing your content to tell the right story with your audience as you're sharing your content and being able to save yourself time and energy so that way it's done faster and correctly, where you can be able to have more time for your family and other things that are important. So if you're new here tonight, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And if you're watching the replay of this episode, give me a hashtag Team Replay. My guest tonight is no stranger to the huddle. He is, in my opinion, a professor when it comes to live streaming. He is a professor when it comes to having a passion for video editing software like DaVinci Resolve and OBS Studios. He's from Australia, but most importantly, he loves sharing his message and his story to help improve the quality of his viewers' lives. And so tonight we want to welcome back, get my mouse, get back in the right place to bring him on. We want to welcome back to the huddle my good friend, Professor John Lacey. Good evening. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning. Well, I mean, it's morning over here. Thank you so much for having me, Walter. It's great to catch up with you again.
Man, you're right. It's like here it's evening time over here in the States of America, 8 o'clock, and here you've already stepped into the new day, in what they say, into the future, and just so grateful you were able to take time out your schedule to be on the huddle. And so for our viewers who are just joining, they're gonna let us know in the chat where they're watching us from. There may be some that are meeting you for the first time. Just kind of reintroduce yourself to our live audience and to Team Replay, a little about yourself and how you got the passion to want to start making content on YouTube.
Hi, everybody. My name's John Lacey, and I have sort of a nerdy interest in video and content creation, and I do like to use fairly technical tools, which isn't for everybody, but, you know, it is just the way I like to roll. And I guess the way that I got into this was I was a vocational education teacher, and I would teach things like word processing and spreadsheets and web design development. And I would literally have a trolley full of laptops that I would drive to different venues and roll these out and teach people. And then we had a pandemic, and that kind of changed everything, and suddenly that work went away. I was very fortunate in the sense that I had another job very shortly afterwards, but it's not teaching, and I do genuinely miss the teaching. And I kind of thought, you know, maybe I can use YouTube to sort of scratch that particular itch. So I wanted to sort of explore some new tools and technologies and try different things out and really just share my learning as I go along with that sort of thing. So I have been using, as you mentioned, OBS Studio for a lot of the streaming. I do use DaVinci Resolve, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot today. And these are tools that have really helped me create the kind of content I want to share with the world.
Man, that's great. That is great. you know, with YouTube, we see this as a constant changing platform where you can create content in so many different formats. However, I believe at the end of the day, there's just some foundational principles and tips and some strategies I think we as content creators should never forget. I think as we were talking right before we went off live, depending on your thought process and your viewpoints on AI, there are just some skills you just need to know yourself at the end of the day. And so, my first question is, if I'm getting into video editing and getting into content creation for the first time, what are just some foundational tips and principles I should just be aware of when learning to start editing?
I guess for me, I think the editing process starts even before you have the footage. So think about, what are you actually going to record? What is the story that you want to tell? How
Mhm.
are we going to sort of illustrate those ideas? And depending on, what your workflow looks like, what your setup looks like, you can always go back and record more stuff, but then, maybe the lighting's changed, maybe you don't have access to the talent. So it's a really good idea to sort of have a bit of a plan before you even go out and start
Mhm.
shooting, let alone editing. And then when you do have that plan and you know that you've got all your resources, you've got, your B-roll footage, for example, you've got your audio, you've got all the components, it's much easier to sort of put those together once you have a sense of the kind of story that you want to tell and sort of how you can present those elements. And it's I guess different people have different approaches to things, and I know some people that like to just record for hours and then just try to find a few good moments in there. That would drive me nuts. I'm much more
Mhm.
structured. I need to have a
Mhm.
plan, and like for me sometimes even just having a script can just make my life a little bit more easier to wrangle the content. So have a plan. Don't just. Well, I mean, I say that. I mean, you can if you want to. If you're just experimenting, if you're just learning, just have fun in the software. That's fine. But if you do want to create a specific video, think about where you're headed and plan for it.
Definitely, definitely. Want to say good evening to our good friend Ender Trading from over in Ireland, and we have for the first time Mr. No Beans Shot 80 over in Bangladesh. I want to welcome you to the huddle for the first time, and so grateful that you took time out your schedule to be a part of this conversation. And so, like I said, there's just some foundational things that you need, but sometimes as content creators or beginners, there's a lot of mistakes and some pitfalls that we can make. I believe one of the first mistakes you can make with a platform like YouTube, over 20 million views being uploaded in the day, to just upload a video with no editing. I My opinion, I think that can be a big risk and mistake. But and just your passion in doing editing, what are just some common mistakes out the gate we should look to try to avoid?
I guess when it comes to beginners, it's often really fun to just experiment with all the settings and all the transitions and all the fonts and all the colors, but that's going to make for an incredibly chaotic video. I
Mhm.
think in a lot of ways, what you want to do is really take out the fluff. So if you've stumbled over your words a few times, you want to get rid of those takes, obviously. But I think it's important sometimes to just, not have all the fancy transitions because in some ways they distract from the content. They don't necessarily amplify it. So it's a good idea to really think about what you actually need for your video project and not get distracted by too many options. I mean, sometimes it can be fun just to play with all the things, and it's probably worthwhile doing that just to get it out of your system, but you probably don't want those videos on YouTube. And again, a million years ago, and I shudder to think how many years ago, I started with a little program called Windows Movie Maker, and you would see all the stars and the heart transitions, and everybody would use everything all of the time. And even the way text was presented in that software, you knew within seconds what people were using to edit it. And it's funny because it was a terrible program and it crashed like for the 50th time in the day, and I kind of
Mhm.
ran off to a physical computer store and bought something else later that day because it was driving me nuts. But yeah, I think really focus on your content, and especially some of the packages that have templates the templates aren't really built for your content. They're just pretty things around, your content. And I think, again, that can be fun, but it can also be really distracting. So just be mindful of that.
Gotcha. And we're going to get a little more into DaVinci Resolve, but just your experience in working with new content creators or people new to video editing. I know for me, I've kind of used Canva. There's iMovie for Mac users. There is Fantasia. There's some other ones out there. What are some video editing softwares do you think that will be a good fit for someone new for the first time versus someone using something and they don't kind of know all the terms and the conditions that can kind of bite them back? CapCut, that's the one I'm thinking of. That can kind of bite them in the rear end if they don't know some of the hidden terms and conditions.
Yeah, and it's really tricky because this space is always sort of evolving, and CapCut was the software that I would often recommend to beginners because it's actually really good software. It's very easy to use. The reason I don't really recommend it to people these days, and I have to say I'm not a lawyer, but they changed their terms and conditions in such a way that kind of implied that anything you did with their software was theirs to work with in whatever capacity they wanted to. And I really didn't feel comfortable with that. So there are so many options. And in a lot of ways, you just need to find one that's going to work for you. And I can't necessarily, without sort of hearing from an individual about, what their workflow looks like, because I guess that's the other thing too. We've got different operating systems. Some people are on Windows, some people are on Mac. There are a lot of Mac-only software that I can't speak to because I don't own a Mac and haven't used one in many, many years. What do you actually want to pay for? Because that's the other thing. These days, we have a lot of software that's a subscription model, and the Adobe suite, for example, is a monthly subscription, and I haven't used a lot of that stuff in a while, but I hear it keeps going up in price all the time. We will talk about DaVinci Resolve in a little bit, but the one thing I love about DaVinci Resolve is it's literally free. There's a free version and there is a paid version, but even the paid version is something you pay for once and you get the updates for seemingly forever. That even though it was a bit of an investment for me, once I paid for it, I don't need to keep paying for it every single month. So, I mean, there are all kinds of software, and I'm not really super familiar with all of them. I think you just need to think about what your needs are. So, for a lot of us, it is literally just making cuts and getting rid of bad takes and maybe putting some footage on top of other footage and maybe generating some captions, maybe grabbing a thumbnail for YouTube. Maybe even sort of doing the chapter markers. Again, if you've got a longer YouTube video, that can be a useful feature as well. So, there are so many ways of editing a video, and I obviously have my preferences, and we'll probably talk more about those in a moment. But again, I don't want to tell anybody their way is wrong, because there are so many ways of doing it. And I know a lot of people do like the AI tools. There are tools where you can edit via text transcripts and sort of delete and add little bits in that way. I've been doing this for so long that I'm actually very comfortable looking at waveforms and knowing exactly the bits that I want to keep and the bits that I want to get rid of. And that's probably only because I'm a person of a certain age.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're talking about the importance of learning how to, as a beginner, to start learning how to edit and to be able to become a better storyteller and to learn how to edit faster. And so you're getting great value out of this discussion tonight. Click the like button for me, hit that thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform, share this with another content creator that you know, because in my humble opinion, this is a skill. Even if it's just from the fundamentals aspect, you need to know how to do versus going ahead and just go full 100% AI and let the machine them do it for you, because at the end of the day, these are skills that I believe that can even be transferable for you to use in other ways just other than YouTube. So hit that like button for me. And so we talked about the foundation, fundamental principles, just some basic softwares. Um, the other question that I wanted to kind of ask you in terms of with video editing, where's my script? We talked about common mistakes. Let's get into DaVinci Resolve. And I've been kind of been watching you as a fan, your content, and just you just like OBS Studios. I can see your passion through your video presentation, and just watching some of your short videos, even to your live streams, your passion just comes out through your presentation. Um, why for you DaVinci Resolve, and just overall why you feel so comfortable in telling a story with DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah, I really like DaVinci Resolve. I like that there's a free version of DaVinci Resolve. I like that I can sort of pay for it outright for the studio version, as it's known. That's the paid version. And, I'll continue to get the updates. But for me, I really like a tool that's powerful enough that I can sort of grow into.
Mm-hmm.
And what that kind of means is that I'm probably using maybe 2% of its functionality right now. But
Mm-hmm.
the great thing about that is I can potentially learn more over time and explore further. And it's funny, I've got the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor, which is a little keyboard, and the software sort of came free with that. And it's a beautiful tool. It's sitting on my desk. Part of me is always tempted to try to show it to the camera, but there are so many cables and things on my desk, I probably shouldn't risk that right now. But
Right.
it's such a beautiful thing, and I can just sort of scroll through, and I can make cuts, and I can insert footage over other footage. And it's got things like the multicam. So if I'm recording myself from several different angles, I can bring those in, and I can literally just set up a multicam clip or a sequence and just sort of switch between those really easily. And there are so many video tools out there. I just wanted one that I kind of wanted to invest in, and I think like not just financially, but also in terms of learning. And I think that's we spoke a little bit about mistakes. One is just not realizing that there will be a bit of a learning curve no matter what tool you choose, and you really do need to sort of become familiar with the interface and the keyboard shortcuts and the tools. And again, we're very fortunate in the sense that the University of YouTube exists, and we can sort of go and look at all kinds of tutorials and wonderful things that are
Mm-hmm.
out there. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, I can sort of bring in my footage into DaVinci. DaVinci actually has a cut page, which I think is a relatively unusual thing. Like it's literally a page for cutting the videos before you get to your main timeline to edit them together. And
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time, I didn't really understand why you would even want to do that. But once I
Okay.
got the speed editor, it's amazing how quick it is to go through the footage, grab the selects, as we like to call them, the parts of the video you actually want to use. Click a button to do a bit of a zoom in. Switch to some B-roll footage, have something over the top of it. I can. And I should say too, this is a paid feature in the studio version. I can automatically generate captions,
Mm-hmm.
and that happens on my own local computer, so I'm not feeding any large language model out in the cloud, so I'm not worried about my personal information being spread far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you still need to go in and manually check those captions, but that's something that in a previous workflow, I would literally have to export my video, go to another tool, grab the captions, correct the captions, export the captions, bring them back to the video editing software. And I just love that there's so much within DaVinci that I can sort of play with. And again, this is software that people literally can use to make feature length films and documentaries in. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't do a lot of color correcting, but that's a feature that's in there. They've even got things to edit uh, images, photographs, again, which is not something I personally use it for, but that exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Blackmagic Design, they're often doing things to make a better world for creative people, and I really do appreciate that. And I kind of wanted to financially support them in a small way. So Yeah, I do like this software. There's always more to learn, which I guess for a beginner can be a little bit daunting. But again, a bit like my relationship with OBS Studio, just focus on the stuff you need. If you need other things later, you can learn about them then, but just stick with the basics. And, you sort of spoke about those transferable skills earlier.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter what you're using, cuts and transitions and text and overlay, it all works in all these different programs. And maybe the mechanism, maybe the keyboard shortcut, maybe the place in the software you need to go to make these things happen is a little bit different. But once you learn one of these products carefully, you can transfer a lot of those skills.
Definitely. We're talking tonight about the importance of learning how to be a great video editor, and learning the skills even from the beginning to the advanced. And so if you're getting great value, do me a favor, hit that like button for me, click that thumbs up. And if you're new to the huddle tonight, and you want to continue to have more content like this, and as a working class content creator, save yourself time and energy and instead of being up to 2 in the morning trying to edit, hit that subscribe button for me, click that alert notification button, and be a part of the conversation. And so, you sold me as a person to say, yeah, I need to start doing the DaVinci Resolve, but I work a 9 to 5 job, John.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married. I have 2 children. That means football practice, dance recital, but I want to be able to put some content together, but I need to save myself some time and some energy here. What's some shortcuts I need to be aware of when it comes to DaVinci Resolve?
I think in a lot of ways, like the big thing about editing is literally about making cuts. And I think from memory, the keyboard shortcut is Control B to blade a clip. And you can literally do that. We have another feature called Ripple Delete, which will take whatever, if you make a cut between two clips, select it, hit Ripple Delete, which again, you could do on the keyboard, you could do on the speed editor, you could probably do with the mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally deletes that clip, but it'll also move the clips around it together. So it's just really, you want to find the key moments that are in there. Again, that sort of cut page is kind of unusual in video editing software, but again, it can make life so much faster because you literally say, hey, this is all my footage. I'm going to go to a section. I'm going to say, this is the start point. This is the end point. Throw that onto the timeline. And then I'll just keep going with the rest of the clips until I've got them there. And then you can move over to the edit page and you can rearrange those. You can put things on top of them. You can zoom in, zoom out, add transitions, add effects. In a lot of ways, it's just about finding a workflow that will work for you. I keep mentioning this speed editor because it is so cool. But again, it's probably like if you're a brand new person who's just exploring editing, it's probably not the thing to invest in straight away. But if you do a lot of editing, the fact that I have all these buttons that are specific to DaVinci Resolve functionality, like I can sort of go in and grab sections and add them to the timeline with a few clicks. That really does save me a lot of time. But again, that is an investment. So you need to think about whether that makes sense for your personal setup or not.
Definitely. Okay. Important. Hey, let me know in the chat where you're watching us from tonight. Give us a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And those of you who are watching the replay up to this point, truly appreciate you. Give us a hashtag Team Replay. Even to my online looky-loos that are just popping in and out. At some point, let us know where you're watching us from. Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it. AI. Let's. I know we didn't put this on the script, but I like the comment you made right before we went live tonight. And even though AI can help us save a lot of time, it can help us with research. If we're not as good with video editing, things like Opus Clips can help us find the best parts of a live stream versus spending 2 hours through a 3-hour live stream. It kind of serves its purpose. However, the floor is yours, John. Give me your pros and your cons on how it's hurting us as content creators if we don't learn these skills.
I look, I don't have a lot of experience with those tools. I know a lot of people use them, I guess what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that the AI doesn't really have a great sense of when a meaningful clip or a meaningful thought or a point sort of starts and ends. So at that
Mhm.
point, you need to kind of go in manually and adjust those things. And
Okay.
at that point, a lot of these programs, they have templates. Some of them even have automatically generated captions printed onto the screen, which you can't change. So if something is deemed incorrect by the AI, it's sort of stuck there permanently. And
Mhm.
admittedly, I should just say up front, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I like to do things manually. That's kind of
Okay.
just who I am as a person.
Mhm.
And I should say too, like video editing isn't for everybody, but even if you
Mhm.
are somebody who is maybe using an AI tool or you may be handing off to a third party to actually edit it for you, you still need to have a sense of what you want the final product to look like. And
Okay.
you know what the cuts are, what are the points that you really want to call out, what are the calls to action, what are the things that you want to actually have really emphasized within in that particular clip.
Mhm.
And I guess one of the things that I like about DaVinci Resolve is, you can actually duplicate a timeline. So one thing that I do a lot of the time is I will create a horizontal video, and I will right click on it and I will just duplicate it and I will go into the settings and I'll adjust it so it's sort of now a vertical video and I can rearrange the
Oh.
elements and I can add additional things or I can crop or and I can resize, I can burn the captions on. So if you've already got an existing project, I think it's often a good idea to revisit some of that and see if you can spin up something that's a little bit different. And, again, I don't have a lot of experience with the AI tools, but I do see a lot of them, will just stretch a clip to fit a vertical format in a way that isn't particularly elegant. And I
Mm.
prefer to do those sorts of things manually.
Okay. Okay. No, it's kind of good to know, though it may help us in these areas over here. Like you said, the novice, the beginning, and me looking at a clip, like you said, not realizing that it's kind of stretching it to the point where that may not be the very best. Because then at the end of the day, if it's shorts or reels, we're like, okay, why is this not getting the response or the amount of views or converting into people wanting to subscribe, and not realizing sometimes it can be those little small little things that play a part on how well a video performs. And so I think that's important. You talked about the importance of sometimes outsourcing and handing off your project to someone else, and being able to know your expectations of what you would want the
Hmm.
finished product. Is there a difference? And I'm asking this from a novice standpoint. I kind of know the answer, but is there a difference in getting someone, say, on Fiverr, who's just a regular video editor, but doesn't really have YouTube experience in working in video? Is there a difference there that I should be aware of, or should I just pick the one that's most affordable to me?
I mean, you can certainly try that. It's difficult to generalize. Like you could get somebody in Fiverr that's really quite talented and is doing a wonderful job, but you could also get somebody that maybe doesn't understand what you're looking for, and
Mhm.
you're really not going to know until you try. And I think that's the kind of approach that I like to encourage people to do because I see a lot of people on Facebook groups asking for advice, and in some ways I can give you advice, but the
Mhm.
reality is you won't know until you try. And whether that's you editing it yourself, whether that's you outsourcing to a third party, whether that's using an AI tool, you really need to go through the motions and just see what the final product looks like and whether you're happy with it, whether your audience sort of responds to it in the way that you expect them to.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just trial and error because I'm sure there probably are some wonderful people in Fiverr. I'm sure there are some less wonderful people on Fiverr. Like it just depends on the individual, I imagine.
Sure, sure. And I mean, we not just Fiverr. It could be. I think there's Upwork. There's YouTube jobs that I heard of recently about. And like you said, it's the importance of just doing your homework, getting an understanding of your expectations of what you're looking for. But I think these are some just basic questions we should always kind of be aware of. The other question that I wanted to kind of bounce off of you here with our audience live and watching the replay. Um, you sometimes see a lot of videos that just say, "Well, it's not necessary to edit anymore." I think it's kind of ultimately goes back to the goal of a person's channel and what they're looking to accomplish. But it's still a skill, whether if you're looking for cinematic or you're looking for, just the basics of being able to keep a person watching a video from your hook to the end to going to the next piece of content. Your thoughts when you kind of see videos and say, "Oh, you just no need for editing anymore. Just put it up there raw."
I think it really depends because different people are looking for different things. And, you talk about the unedited videos. I'm not actually averse to like just a vlog type video, just somebody naturally talking to a camera. I don't think that's inherently bad. But I
Mhm.
think if you think about this as a spectrum, you have that on one end, and then you have sort of the super edited version on the other end, which is like explosions and sound effects and things. And I personally find that actually kind of overwhelming. I'm looking for something somewhere in the middle. But
Okay.
again, that will depend on your particular audience. I know that, especially my experiences watching TikTok, there are some people that really love to have 15 things happening on every frame, and I'm like, that's just too much for me to worry about. So I
Right.
do like to keep it much more simple. I'm probably a bit more minimalist than that in my video editing approach anyway.
Mhm.
But again, I hate to keep coming back to that same bit of advice, but you really won't know how people respond until you put something out into the world. And I think
Mhm.
in some ways, live streaming was the thing that got me over that, was that I just had to go live and whatever happened, happened.
Mhm.
Whereas video editing, I really do enjoy, and I enjoy it probably in part because I am a control freak and I can very
Mhm.
carefully correct things and edit things and take things out. But again, those are just two different approaches. And I think there's definitely an audience out there for all of it. So it's just
Mhm.
finding out what your people respond to.
Right, definitely. Because like I said, I watch quite a bit of your content. More on the short. There is a new camera that you and forgive me for not knowing the name off the top of my head that you recently you did an unbox video. I was
Hmm.
like, oh look at John stretching himself. What was the unboxing of the camera again?
Is this one the Osmo Pocket 4,
Hmm.
which is a little sort of handheld camera. And yeah, it's one of those things. I've really been enjoying working with those cameras, and it's funny because a lot of my content is live streaming. It's from this office. I always have the green screen behind me, so being able to take it into different places, being able to record outside has been a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Again, it's the problem with being a working class content creator is I don't have a lot of time to do these things,
Right,
but
right.
I do love experimenting with them when I can. And that camera, it comes with different wireless mics that I can sort of attach to my shirt and record out in the wild.
Hmm.
I guess for me, like I am genuinely interested in sort of a documentary style video recording and editing thing, which is really something I want to explore further in the future. And again, that's why I've been playing with DaVinci Resolve's multicam to get the different camera angles of a piece of footage and just playing with those things. But yeah, I mean, you won't know what your audience is into until you put it out there and just see what happens. So it's a good
Hmm.
idea. And I guess, I've been I don't know how long I've been releasing videos and live streaming on my current channel, but you do need to shake it up for yourself as much as the audience. You need to experiment and try new things.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's why I was just seeing as you were working with the new camera equipment, doing the unboxing videos, and you being out and about in your surroundings. I could just see um a different side of you that was just like when you're in your office doing live streaming, you're kind of relaxed. You're the professor. We're class in session and we're listening to you taking notes. But then you're outside. You enjoying yourself and you're doing the video edit. And I'm like, he's telling a story, and I was like, I don't see that a lot with a lot of content that I watch on video. Like you said, sometimes it's 20 million cuts, and I'm exaggerating the boom, the explosion, and whereas just telling a story through your video editing. And I was like, to me, that's missing, and I don't think the AI tools can do that. Now, I could be wrong, but when you see it done from a human's perspective of just their passion and why they enjoy doing.
And I should say, I'm always looking for excuses to edit video, and in some ways, I prefer being behind the camera more than I prefer being on camera. But if I wasn't on camera, I would have nothing to edit, probably, unless I changed my life quite dramatically. So, it's different people will like different things, and maybe you learn the editing, maybe you outsource that to somebody else. I mean, they're all fine approaches, but again, just being a little bit creative and experimenting and playing with things. I think in some ways, trying something, even if you're not super happy with the results, you're still going to learn something in a way you won't if you just type a prompt into an AI tool, for example.
Definitely. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion on just knowing the fundamentals and the basics of video editing to know how to better speed your process up, click that like button for me, hit that thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform. If you're new to the huddle, make sure you hit that subscribe button for us and be a part of the conversation here on the huddle. Just 2 quick questions, and we will get you out of here so that way you can enjoy the rest of your beautiful Saturday morning over there in Australia. Where do you see the state of video editing now with, AI, with Chat GPT, Claude, and other various things, Opus Clips? Where do you see video editing going at someone that's been doing it for a while?
I mean, again, AI is not something that particularly interests me, although there are elements of DaVinci Resolve that I use that do use AI features. So, for example, we have something called Magic Mask, which essentially lets me select some portion of the video. Maybe I want to sort of separate myself from the background. And I can just put in a few dots and, I get my computer essentially to analyze the footage and sort of select portions of it and then exclude other portions of it. Again, all of that is powered by AI, but it's actually AI that's happening on my local computer. And again, I know that's not a concern for everybody, but that is something that does concern me personally a little bit. The other thing too is just the AI generated captions. Again, they're never perfect. You do need to go in and sort of correct them. You do need to add some punctuation in there and correct some spellings. But again, that's a really useful way of working. And there are a bunch of AI tools in DaVinci that I've not even touched yet. So there are things that will analyze the footage and delete portions where there is no audio, for example. So it'll make a whole bunch of cuts for you. You can sort of throw in a camera clip and just tell it to have a go at editing those and switching between the different scenes. And again, you have the ability to sort of go in and correct that yourself. So if you're not happy with the choices the AI has made, you can certainly go in and do that. So I mean, all these things exist, and I guess it's up to the individual to decide how and when they want to reach for them and use them. For me, I don't really want to put words into my mouth that I haven't actually said.
Okay.
That's actually another thing that I think the studio version can do now, is if I take a clip of anybody speaking, and it only has to be like a sentence, I can sort of generate a voice around that audio and have them say whatever I want, which is a little concerning, to be honest, in this world where there is a lot of deepfake stuff already. So I think the danger of AI in a lot of ways is just the way it erodes trust. And I think there's a lot to be said for just being really authentic and being really transparent. And I believe the European Union have actually just introduced some laws about disclosure for that part of the world. So again, I'm not anybody's parent or their boss. It's up to the individual to decide what they want to do and how they want to proceed. But I do prefer to do things manually. That's just who I am.
Okay, no, that's good to know. No, it's important to kind of have that grounded perspective Whether if it's editing, if it's thumbnails, or just in terms of overall content creation. Um, to have that creative passion and the ability to tell a story naturally from your own skills that you develop. Like I said, number one, that's a transferable skill or skills that you can take and use in other places. And if you're going, in my opinion, if you are going to leverage AI technology to buy back time and help with speeding processes up, it should just enhance more what you've already done versus just leaning on it 100% as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, definitely. Where can our audience find you, and when you get ready to get back to doing, coffee with John video editing live streams, and because like I said, I enjoy you doing them, just being, even though I don't have DaVinci Resolve, but me using Canva, just being able to pop in, ask some questions, and learn how to better, use what I have. Where can our audience find you at? Link is in the description, but
Okay,
for
cool. Well, I mean, the link is in the description, which is awesome. But if you go to youtube.com/at learn live streaming, that's my YouTube channel. And you can head over to johnlacey.com. I probably have a whole bunch of social links if you want to find me anywhere.
Mhm. Perfect. Your final thoughts, sir. And I truly appreciate you. Just, you know, you, you provide so much value, and just being able to have you here on the huddle tonight, I really appreciate it. Your final thoughts on this episode in our discussion.
I guess my final thought would be video editing isn't necessarily for everybody, but if it is for you, just appreciate that it will take a little bit of time to learn your software. And the best thing you can do is actually just open up the software, edit, play, try things out, go on YouTube, watch some tutorial videos, and just see what your software and your own personal creativity is actually capable of. Because I think there's a little part of me that can be a little bit self-critical, and I'm always a little surprised that the things I produce are better quality than I secretly fear they will be. And I think that's something anybody has the opportunity to learn about themselves. And again, you learn that by doing. I try not to rant and rave about this too much, but my one of my hang-ups at the moment is just Facebook has this weird meta AI thing where people are generating posters for different things and they all look identical.
Mhm.
And they probably serve a purpose, but I'm so distracted by the fact that they all look so similar that I'm not even paying attention to what's actually on the page anymore. And I think
Mm.
it's a really good idea. Just play with things, experiment, find out what your contribution can look like. And it doesn't need to look like other people's. You can figure out what you want to do and put out into the world.
Yeah, it's about being authentic. Like you said, even if you're going to leverage, again, want to be mindful of your time, but even if you're going to leverage things like that, you have to still be authentic and still be yourself, because at the end of the day, that's how people are going to connect with you. I think I remember the first time I took a photo and I put it into Gemini, and I think the shirt was, a black shirt and it had some design and some words on it. It's basically the profile picture that I have on YouTube now, and how it was able to enhance and turn it into a solid red shirt. And I was like, it's still me. It looks like me. It has all my features. All it did was just it tweaked and changed the shirt. So from using AI in that aspect, I said, I see the value in it. It still allows me to be who I am. It still allows me to be authentic, but at the same time, it's not copying me and end up looking like someone else. No, I could be wrong, sir. That's why I lean to your advice on it.
And like again, I have personal boundaries about AI use, but I'm not really here to tell you what to do.
Mhm.
Although I will say Sora, which I believe is a company that's sort of been and gone at this point, but it
Mm.
was creating some of the glitchiest and weirdest AI videos I'd ever seen. And I remember seeing a personal friend of mine produce this really weird video, and I kind of I know I keep coming back to this, but for me, I think that the danger of reaching for some of these AI tools is just that it does cause a bit of friction, and you realize, oh, I'm not really interacting with a real person. I'm sort of
Mhm,
interacting with a bot.
mhm,
And even as an introvert, I much prefer to sort of interact with real people.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, this is good stuff, sir. Thank you so much for just your wisdom, just your knowledge, your experience, and just your friendship online. I know it's many years ago they used to have what's called pen pals, where you could write someone, but just having you as an online pen pal live streamer, I appreciate your friendship.
Thank you, Walter.
All right, I'm just gonna put you in the green room right quick, and then I'll be right back after the stream has ended. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Professor John Lacey. And so tonight, just wanted to have a discussion on some of the fundamentals on video editing. And I saw quite a few people in the chat that kind of let us know that they were video editors themselves. And so I appreciate you just kind of giving your thoughts. Where is that? Trying to find one of the things that he said was, I think, my good friend from Bangladesh who let us know that he was a video editor. And you know it's just about coming to the huddle and just and sharing this knowledge and this experience so that we can all become better content creators. So if your goal is to grow your channel and get more views and make money, hey, why it doesn't hurt to learn some of the fundamentals of video editing. And so John Lacey definitely dropped a lot of gems and truth with us tonight. And so next Friday, we want to shift the conversation here on the Working Class Creators Podcast series to talk about burnout. When you experience burnout, not just in your life, but on your YouTube channel, how do you hit the reset button to not repeat the same mistakes that got you burnt out? And so that's next Friday with a good friend of mine over from in Cambridge, England, Mr. Ash Borland. So you want to check out that episode. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and be a part of the conversation of the huddle as we bring this train into the station. We will see you next Friday on the huddle. God bless. Did I hit thank you? I didn't do it. There we go.